And with that, we welcome in our NFL enthusiast, Albert Lainer, and he is the host of the Wise Guys Show. You can watch that on YouTube. And Albert, week 15 of the NFL. What'd you make of it?
Well, I would say that it was a week of some tight offensive contests, some very good matchups, and some interesting developments. Especially the biggest development, which is not only that the Kansas City Chiefs are not in the playoffs, which I think anyone with a brain and who could see the trajectory of the Chiefs season could attest to or see. But also that Patrick Mahomes will be out probably for quite some time.
Yeah.
So that is that will, of course, is one of the headline blaring aspects of Week 15. I understand, I don't know if this is still the case, that the Philadelphia Eagles had something called a positivity rabbit in their locker room or in
Oh,
some
yes, yes.
online on their facility.
Yep.
Now, for the Eagles, the season was turning into something akin to the movie Donnie Darko and the rabbit from Donnie Darko.
Okay.
Right now, it seems with their win against the Raiders, their overwhelming win against the Raiders, that suddenly it's turned into the imaginary rabbit from the 1950s movie Harvey, starring Jimmy Stewart. So I don't know if it was the positivity rabbit or just the positive gain on yards and first downs and the touchdowns that the offense was able to produce. So, who knows? I think though that the Eagles need to still win games, otherwise their season will turn into rabbit stew. Outside of that, like I said, there were some major matchups. I think you had the Rams playing the Lions. That was a major NFC conference game. Terrific offensive struggle there. And the Rams are now in the playoffs. You had an interesting game where Denver beat the Green Bay Packers, and they clinched a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so we had some games this week that that were important because they resulted in the Rams and the Broncos securing berths in the playoffs. So they're in the playoffs. So that's important to note. And I think also some of the games themselves were really good. For example, you also had the Bills playing the Patriots. That's a divisional matchup. The Patriots had beaten them previously, and the Bills managed to turn the tables and actually come back in this game. I think they were down by 3 scores, and they came back and they beat New England. That's very important. And I would say right now, some prognosticators and pundits have stated that this could be the Bills' year, could be Buffalo's year. Now you don't have the obstacle of Kansas City.
Right.
So you can't say, well, the Chiefs beat us.
Yeah.
The Chiefs will not be in the playoffs.
Right.
The Broncos will.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Patriots will. And perhaps the LA Chargers will. But the Chiefs won't. And so when you look at the way the Bills have been playing in some games, the game against the Buccaneers, the game against the Bengals, and even in this game against the Patriots, it seems that the Bills have found their offensive essence, their mojo, so to speak. And they're playing at a level now, at least in some of these games, which augurs well for a playoff, not only the playoff run, but for the playoffs. And so they've got to find a way to put it together. Even though they're not at the top of their division, though they beat the Patriots, even though they're not at the top of their division, I think with the Bills, it's gonna we're it. I think the spotlight's gonna be on them. I think it's gonna be on Buffalo. Can they actually do it this year? So at this point, it's basically a make or break year for Buffalo. That's essentially what is going to result or has resulted because of the Chiefs not only losing, but Mahomes being injured, and the Chiefs being out of playoff contention. At this point, it's going to be what does Buffalo do in the AFC, right?
Okay.
And the NFC, I think it's going to come down to, which of these teams is going to make it.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the Rams? Is it going to be the Seahawks? Some people will say the Eagles, but this past Sunday notwithstanding, if you look at the Eagles, they still have a lot of problems. They've got a lot of issues. And I don't think they're capable of really doing it this year. Just like I didn't think that the Chiefs were able to do it this year.
Okay.
I think they've had problems for a long time. They're dysfunctional. And it showed in games. They managed to stave it off by having the Raiders. They're fortunate that they had the Raiders. I mean, if the Eagles were up against, the Packers or even the Bears, they weren't seeing the Bears again, but they were up against a team with a winning record or a better team, I think that the bleeding would still continue. So when you look at this week, it was a consequential week for the AFC and for a couple teams, one in the AFC and one in the NFC, and in regards to teams getting to the playoffs.
Okay. Let's get into my questions. I'll start with Kansas City and the big news there. As we all know, Patrick Mahomes left the game late in the fourth quarter with a knee injury. We now know that it is the ACL. And so that's a lingering question. Coach Andy Reid has also suggested making changes to his staff in this offseason. Now that the Chiefs are officially in their not making the playoff era, shout out to Taylor Swift. What is next for these Chiefs?
I think what's next is being able to bring someone aboard as a QB1 who can get you through next year. Because it looks like with the prognosis I hear with an ACL tear or ACL injury.
Season ending, yeah. It usually takes, season ending, and then you don't play the following year. It's rough, yeah.
I mean, if you look at someone like Aaron Rodgers, he got it in the first game.
Right.
With the Jets. Took him the entire season.
Yeah.
So it took months for him to recover.
Yeah.
And he was back the following season.
Right.
This is near the end of this season.
Right.
So it'll probably, I don't think he will see action next year.
No.
Obviously.
I don't think so either.
No. So they're going to have to bring someone aboard. They're going to have to sign someone up. And you're going to have to that team is going to have to adjust offensively. There can't be these spontaneous improvisations that Mahomes is able to make in the pocket and out of the pocket. You're going to have a slightly different offense, or even a very different offense. And so that's what they're going to have to do offensively. And I think also they're just going to have to find a way to get an offense that will work. It's an offense that ought to work. So that's important.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say they can't sign Phillip Rivers apparently.
No.
Not unless the Colts let him go.
No. Since you brought him up, what did you think of Philip Rivers' 44-year-old performance?
Well, what happened was pretty much what I thought. Near the end of the game, he threw an interception.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how I thought. What's interesting about that game, which was the Colts and the Seahawks, was the Seahawks won that game without scoring a touchdown.
Right.
All field goal. So that's interesting in regards to the Seahawks and Seattle, that they were able to play. The Colts defense actually did a pretty good job. I said the Colts defense had to stand up and they had to start. They had to come up with either plays or either make things happen. And they were able to keep the Seahawks out of the end zone, considering how good this offense is. That was a pretty effective achievement, even though it doesn't mean much in the totality of the game since they lost the game. In the specifics of the game, I think it was pretty good. But when you look at the emergence of Philip Rivers, the one thing I have to say is, are there no other quarterbacks in the NFL
Wow.
that you can call?
Yeah.
Other than somebody who had been retired for 5 years,
Right.
and is in his near mid-40s.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Tom Brady's unavailable because he's on Fox
Commentating and other stuff. Yeah.
And part owner of an NFL team. That
Right.
would be kind of awkward. I'm beginning to think maybe Brady should suit up and play for the Raiders.
There's still money. Yeah.
The way the Raiders season has gone.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's going to be on a mic in the booths upstairs, relaying whatever information, he sure as hell can get in a uniform and start throwing some passes around and maybe take snaps and actually play. Now, do I actually think he should play for the Raiders? Absolutely not.
Okay.
But if you're going to get Philip Rivers, who was retired for 5 years, I mean, you've got other quarterbacks that are retired.
Yeah.
I think Cam Newton was upset that he wasn't
Cam Newton, right? That was going to be my next question. Both Cam Newton and Colin Kaepernick were both upset that they didn't get the call. Do they have a right to be upset?
Well, I don't think anybody's going to be calling Colin Kaepernick. I don't think the owners of the NFL, for whatever reason, well, I know the reason. Is it fair? No, but they don't want him. And is it unfair? Yeah, it's unfair. Cam Newton, I think that he leaves a sour taste in with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's appropriate that he's a commentator talking about games other than playing games.
Right.
He had his chance, and he wasn't able to win the big one, meaning the Super Bowl.
Right.
And so, I guess he hasn't stopped pouting.
No.
He's still pouting. And I guess that's consistent. He was a consistently good quarterback.
Yeah.
And he was a consistent, whiny, pouting person.
Yeah.
So
he was whiny at Florida too. A lot of people forget that. But before he went to Auburn, he was kind of whiny at Florida too. But somehow that gets erased in the history books.
It goes against the idea of the quarterback, right? The quarterbacks, I guess, quarterbacks can't complain, but you're supposed to complain to the players. You're not supposed to complain, if you were to believe the archetypes.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to complain in general. Although players have a lot to complain about. Like I said, the NFL is what I call the not fair league. It really isn't fair. But what I would say is that normally the people who are the whiners and complainers are the wide receivers. How come you didn't hit me?
Right.
How come I didn't get this pass? How come, you're throwing it elsewhere? All you need to do to see that at work is look at Jerry Jeudy talking to Shedeur Sanders on the sideline of a game of like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And see him talk. I was like, who's the quarterback here and who's the receiver?
Right.
Because it sounds like he looks like he's the quarterback. telling him like, look, I mean, when you have a receiver getting that upset in that fashion, something, it's very interesting. But again, I guess that's the archetype. I guess he goes against the archetype.
Yeah.
It's the wide receivers that are supposed to be the laners, not the quarterbacks. But yeah, it's not. Is it fair to Cam Newton? No. But again, nor is it fair to Colin Kaepernick. But it is the NFL.
Yeah.
So not fair.
Right.
And so the last thing I would say about Phillip Rivers is, and I'll just kind of couch this as a memo to the NFL, though they're not watching this. Look, guys, let me make this more formal. There are other people who are playing in the league.
Yeah.
And on teams, even as backups, that you can go with. And with the Colts, I would say this. I don't know if the coaching staff or the owner or anyone or the GM were watching The Natural with Robert Redford on a loop endless times. But, it looks better in the movies than it does in reality.
Yeah.
Real life is REEL life is not REAL life. So please, unless they're active, let's keep the 40-year-old quarterbacks or 40-something-year-old quarterbacks back at home where they can watch it on the lazy boy or recliner or sofa and not have them out on the field. You might want to try someone in their 20s.
Yeah.
Maybe 30. Just logical. After all, a quarterback in his 40s in as far as in NFL years to me is somebody in their 80s.
Yeah.
When you think about it, the punishment they go through. Now, that's not literal, like I said, NFL years. So, yeah. Let's keep the inspirational stories from the movies. And let's keep reality and common sense and logic on the playing field.
I like it.
My message to the Indianapolis Colts and the NFL.
I like it. Just to tie a bow on Phillip Rivers, with him playing, he now forgoes his Hall of Fame eligibility. It's been pushed back for another 5 or 6 years. Let's shift gears now to Green Bay. All season long, we've been talking about Micah Parsons. Now, today is the same story. Micah Parsons, again though, injury, and again an ACL. Christian Watson left the game in the third quarter, and so now the Packers go from this team that could possibly win it all to now hobbled and compromised. How much trouble are the Packers in today?
I think they were in trouble when they faced Dallas.
Okay, wow.
People didn't think that. As I said, I knew this team wasn't the real deal when I saw them play Dallas.
Okay.
Because they had 2 good games, the first game against the Lions and then the Commanders, where they kept both those teams below 20 points. And it looked like this defense, of course, anchored with Micah Parsons, was going to be the real deal. And they turned out to be more of a real REEL deal, more of a movie deal than a real life deal. And the problem is that they gave up 40 points to the Cowboys. That's when I said, ooh, they're not it. They don't have it. And now they're in a position where they're losing playmakers. They lost Kraft. They've now lost, looks like, Christian Watson, and they lost Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, from my assessment and my analysis, was an insurance policy for that defense. If you look at that game against the Giants, he sacks Jameis Winston and helps them win that game. That's pretty much why he's there. If you look at the Packers, they weren't really able to advance in the playoffs. because they didn't have anything amounting to a defensive insurance policy, among other things. Offensively, they were decent, but they didn't really have that. And they had other flaws. But now they don't have a defensive insurance policy with Parsons out. I mean, they've got some good defensive players, but now they don't have a insurance policy. And I don't care what anyone there says. They brought Micah Parsons there for the postseason, and now he's going to be gone. So the reality with the Packers is I don't think they're a great team anyway. I think they're overrated. I said the same with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I've said the same with the Ravens. The Ravens have muddled in mediocrity this year. They managed to have an easy schedule where they could win some games and climb back, or crawl back, really. And the Chiefs have been fundamentally a team that didn't have all its playmakers at times and weren't great anyway on the field. And again, that stems from when they were playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I said the rot really started from that point on, and it's extended into the following season. So the Green Bay Packers are one of the most overrated teams in the NFL. They're a team that's able to win games, and they get to the playoffs, but they don't really have the defense to win, and that's why I think they brought Micah Parsons. Now your insurance policy's gone. You don't have that playmaker. There's a reason why playmakers are important in the NFL. It's because when you get to the playoffs, they have to make the plays.
Right.
Your stars are there for a reason. They're not stars because sports writers and pundits and talk show hosts and others have made them stars. They're stars because of their performance on the field and because they can make plays. If Micah Parsons doesn't make plays, this Packers team, I guarantee you, Packers get to the playoffs, they will probably lose. And you know why they will lose? Because Micah Parsons won't be there to make a sack, to make a hit, to make a knockdown. He was the insurance policy, and that policy is now lapsed.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That's very good insight there. Let's head out east. Patriots Bills yesterday, a great game, probably my favorite game of the week. Do you think there will be a third meeting between the Patriots and the Bills?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
In fact, I even in the first game, I thought these teams might, and the Patriots were just beginning their climb. I thought these teams might see each other in the playoffs. I really felt that way. I'm convinced that it might happen. That it might happen. I say might.
Yeah.
I don't think it automatically will happen.
Right.
But it might happen, depending on the seedings and the matchups.
Yeah.
Because when you look at these two teams, when they play now, it's like fireworks.
Right.
It's turning, the Bills Patriots is turning into what the Bills Chiefs has been.
Okay.
That's what you're seeing now. The Bills Patriots is, with Drake May and this team, you may have, again, you may have that, they may become to the Bills what the Chiefs are. So I wouldn't be surprised. It really depends on, again, what the matchups are. And I don't know what the matchups will be in the playoffs. I don't think the Patriots could have won the division if they had beat the Bills. They lost, so they weren't able to win the division.
Okay.
So we're not quite sure whether they'll win the division or get in as a wild card.
Okay.
But I'm convinced that they will meet. And I think that'll be a great game. So I think it will happen. I think it might happen. That's the logical way to put it. And I think the realistic way to put it.
Okay. First time since 1998, the AFC Championship will not feature somebody with the last name of Manning, Brady, or Mahomes. What does that mean for the AFC?
It means normalcy. It means finally peace in the land. It means a real AFC slate for the playoffs. The AFC has finally returned to sanity.
Okay.
We don't let. It was an insane league. It was an insane conference because of these dual dynasties. You went from the Patriots to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The NFL, I think part of the problem for the NFL is that we need to get away from dynasties. Dynasties worked in the past because they didn't go beyond a certain point, right? The 49ers won 4 Super Bowls with, Joe Montana.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls with Troy Aikman.
Right.
And the AFC, of course, has become the conference where the dynasties have taken place, right?
Yeah.
And previously it was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
So we need to get to a point where we can have hopefully 2, maybe 3 years and no dynasties. Hopefully 4. What I'm hoping with the Chiefs being eliminated and with a pure, clean AFC slate for the playoffs is we finally get real competition. And we finally get to see teams that will not be a disgrace to the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs are a disgrace to the NFL. I called them the Big Red Machine, much like what the Cincinnati Reds, I think, of the 70s were called. And now, as I mentioned before, the Kansas City Chiefs have gone from being a Big Red Machine to a Big Dead Machine. And I believe that they are a menace in the AFC. And, it just demonstrates that the NFL is not, unfortunately, the NFL is not really about competition. It's about complications. What will happen every year? It's the complication of what will happen if the Chiefs beat this team or bad team. Will they be able to get back? Now we can get back to competition. And not have to deal with a team that apparently we don't have to deal with this dynasty for now.
Right.
Will they be back? It's possible. But I don't know. Andy Reid's getting on in years. Kelsey's getting on in years. And the team eventually has to fragment and be obliterated. That's what happens with championship teams. They go the way of rock bands.
Yeah.
They break up and end. So it is good news that the Chiefs are not in the playoffs. Not just to the fans of the other teams, of the AFC teams, but I think it's good news for the NFL.
Okay.
And it's finally a nice, pure, clean AFC playoff.
Okay. Well, thank you, Yoko Ono, for splitting up the dynasty. And just for fun, Vinny Testaverde and John Elway played in the 1998 AFC Championship. Those were the 2 quarterbacks. So,
well, I wouldn't be Yoko Ono. I wouldn't be Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be Pete Best either.
Okay.
Um, I might say I'd rather be George Martin.
Okay. Very
So
well.
I'll stick with being George Martin.
Okay. Um, final final question. And ain't no wrong answer here. Mike McDaniels, Mike Tomlin. Which Mike is more on the hot seat?
Mm. Well, you could argue that they're both kind of under a hot mic,
Okay.
so to speak. So the reality is that it's clearly Mike McDaniel
Okay.
because of the way that the Patriot. I'm sorry, the
Dolphins.
the Dolphins
Yeah.
have uh, have had have played this season. Well, their playing has gotten better, and they're winning games, and they're actually looking like a team that could go to the playoffs. That's the weird part about the Dolphins. Um, they're putting together a nice slate of games where maybe they have got easier teams to deal with. I don't know, the Steelers will be so easy, but they're winning games. And what you're seeing is that the standard that they should play, the standard of play that should be what they execute every week is now happening with the Dolphins. So I think what that does is make things more intriguing. McDaniel could be fired after the season, and so he's more likely to do it. But they don't fire in Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin would have to say, sorry, I'm going. I'm
Right.
heading out. I think Tomlin should consider either retiring or moving on to another team.
Okay.
Because I think after this year, I don't really see the reason for him to continue in Pittsburgh.
Me
I mean,
either.
I could see if he had actually not won a Super Bowl. He has won a Super Bowl. And basically what he's doing is putting together winning season after winning season after winning season
Right.
and not able to advance. He's basically turned into another version of Marty Schottenheimer, but this time with a championship. That's the difference. Marty Schottenheimer couldn't get to the Super Bowl and win the championship. Mike Tomlin has.
Yeah.
But in many respects, he's more like Marty Schottenheimer in that he's not really a playoff coach. So I don't think they're going to fire Tomlin. It'd be surprising if they did, especially in light of what happened to Michigan.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would have to be something of that level for him to go. But the reality is, I think that it would be Mike McDaniel, and it'll be interesting to see what Miami does. Will they fire him despite the team winning? That's a possibility. And he may end up, actually, the way I look at it with McDaniel, if he gets fired, some teams might be interested because he's put together a nice.
Oh yeah. No, he's not a bad coach.
He's
No.
this team together. He's resurrected this team.
Yeah.
This team was dead, and he's resurrected this team. I don't know how he did it. He had Tua making comments about players not coming to the players' meeting.
Yeah, that was
He
crazy.
had loss after loss piling up during the season. But he's managed to turn this team around. He's managed to do it by hook or by crook. And so I think other teams might be interested in him if he gets fired. Because they might look at this and go, well, yeah, they didn't do so well here. But he can get a team going, even if it's just putting together a decent, for pride only season, remainder of a season.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting.
Really quick, who do you think is the best fit for the New York Football Giants?
I had a feeling I would be asked that question. I think you need a coach that has had a degree of success. I would say Mike McCarthy.
Okay. It's an
because
interesting
he's
answer.
NFC, he's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's gotten to the playoffs. Even with Dallas, he went to the playoffs. Yeah, they didn't win, but he's managed to get winning season after winning season in Dallas. Not an easy place to do that with Jerry Jones. I think Mike McCarthy would be an interesting fit there with the Giants.
Okay.
And I look at that squad. I'm looking at Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Scatterglue comes back.
Yeah.
If you have Malik Neighbors coming back.
There's potential there.
Yeah. The offense certainly has potential. The defense maybe needs a little work. I'd say Mike McCarthy.
Okay.
Yeah. I look at him and I go, he would work. He works within that conference. He knows the conference, and he's had success. If I were them, I'd go with him.
Okay. He's Albert Lainer. He is the host of the Wise Guys Show. Where do we get it?
Go to @Ryder Albert Lainer 3434 on YouTube. That's Ryder Albert Lainer on YouTube.
Okay. Perfect. We will check that out. Week 15 in the books. Looking forward to week 16 and all that has that with that. Perfect.